Welcome to this hour on Cyber Power of Tigray. Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Hilena Tadesse. I am very happy to join you back on our continuing conversation on wellness in time of crisis. Today, I'm honored to be joined by Ms. Rahel Haile. I should say Ms. Rahel Haile. Rahel, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Hilena Hafte, for having me. I'm so excited to join you on this segment.
Thank you so much. So as you know, this is a continuing in the series. Each week we focus on something slightly different. This week we're going to be doing a pulse check. To begin, I'd love for you to just introduce yourself and let our Tagaru family know who you are.
Sure. Well, as Hilena mentioned, my name is Rahel Haile, and I have a background in psychology. The world and the realm of mental health has my heart. And really, I'm just trying to use the resources that I have, the knowledge that I have to kind of break the stigma of mental health, especially in the Tigray community, and really just bridge the gap between the older community and the diaspora, and really focus on having those conversations about the importance of mental health, because it's not just during a time of war that we need to worry about our mental health. It's something that we're going to have to take care of just as much as we take care of our physical health. So,
well said. I'm especially excited to have you here today because you were way ahead of the curve. You were having these conversations within our community before the crisis. And during Pulse Check today, I'm wanting to talk about what is the mental state of our community looking like? There are now, thankfully, many of us out here having these conversations, and I'm really interested to talk about what the overall pulse of our community in regards to health, mental well-being looks like. As of right now, we have TPN, Tagaru Professional Networks, doing which you are a part of, which I also am a part of. And thankfully, you have teamed up with, I believe, a couple of our members to bring every other Monday. You take it away.
Hilena and I are both part of a couple of things. I think we're dipping a little bit of here, a little bit of there, but specifically talking about TPN, we have started every other Monday, like Hilena mentioned, a Mental Health Mondays, where we discuss a mental health topic a little bit more in depth. We share it on all our social media platforms, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and things like that. And it's really just a way for us to get engaged with the community. I think social media has a huge impact right now in 2021 and over the years. So we're really just trying to use that platform to engage, especially Tagarus, on the importance of mental health, and really just giving them the basics and the important information that they need without overwhelming them at the same time.
It's so important because as we are taking advocacy head on, fighting for our people who are currently silenced within Tigray, as well as within the capital city of Addis Ababa itself, mental health specifically for the longevity of this fight, no matter, if we wake up tomorrow and God willing, it's over, or once Tigray reopens, being able to take care of our people, not just financially or rebuilding structurally, but also mentally. All the damage that has been done and continues to be done is so important for us now and then for them later. I'm really thankful that on all of these platforms, our people will be reminded, sort of like a wellness check, sort of like an alarm clock that says, please check on your mental well-being, on your mental status. Also, in the coming weeks, we will be seeing our large, I would say, amplifying platforms, the platforms we have come to trust, that the platforms that, from the beginning, and now our newest platform that has rolled out, Stand with Tigray. And you guys, we all know them from just rolling out as soon as the crisis began, our Twitter banks and all the campaigns. You can also find all the announcements on there. And now Amna, who is, also doing great works in that. I mean,
Yeah.
you think about currently it's 4 million plus people at risk for starvation, right?
Yeah.
You think about, to begin with, 6 million plus people within Tigray that have been put in harm's way. So there's no way there's only going to be one or two. There's so many of these organizations that just are continuing to galvanize our people. And those two are currently at the forefront. And still, to know TPN, Amna, Stand with Tigray, will, throughout the day, at least once a day, have a reminder of our mental well-being, so that we are able to continue to advocate at a stellar performance, so that we're not burnt out for our own immediate families. That is pretty dramatic steps forward, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, I am so proud of the Tagaru. I mean, not only the ones that are in Tigray on the battlefield, all that good stuff, but I mean, the ones that are outside of Tigray, and to see the fire that it has ignited in all of us, just a desire and a want to help our people. That's all that it comes down to. As soon as, you know, this war was waged on us on November 4th, it was like everybody went into action. It was like, let's get it going. Whatever we have to do, whether it be Twitter campaigns, whether it be protests, whether it be, using these kind of platforms, just bringing awareness, making sure that, we are being a voice. I think that's the biggest thing, is we're being a voice for the voiceless and for the people of Tigray. And in terms of where Tagarus are, and as far as their mental state goes, I mean, there's really no one category to put. I think we're all on this emotional roller coaster every single day. I know there are moments where people feel very empowered when they see the work that we're doing and the work that they're doing. There are days or moments where you feel saddened by the news, the information that comes out, whether it's from family members that you are able to get in contact with, or even news articles that are written about the reality of what's going on in the ground. And even then, we don't know what's really happening in Tigray. So it's really, like I said, just an emotion of a roller coaster of emotions, and it has triggered a lot. I think especially for the older generation, for the people who have actually crossed those rivers, who have left Tigray for the same reasons now that people are leaving. So it's a very unique situation. We are trying to deal with trauma while still living that trauma. When you use the word Tagaru and resilient together, it's so hard to explain it, because, like I said, Tagarus are in a very unique situation. We are trying to balance our everyday lives. Many of us are still working. Many of us are mothers. We're trying to find balance in making sure that we don't get fired from work, and we're still performing at that level that we've always been performing at, but still being there for Tigray at the end of the day, because that's our family. That's who we are fighting for day and night. And we talk about anxiety, I think, is really big, that I've seen in the community. PTSD, the triggers, hearing the stories about the rapes, hearing the stories about the starvation, hearing the stories about these different the things that the children are suffering, is very it's saddening. And now our parents have tried for so long, people have tried for so long to suppress that. They left, they went through Sudan, they left their family, they left their country, and they had to learn a new language. Many of them had children. They had to, when they got to the States, they had to start working. And so they never got the opportunity to really deal with that trauma that they experienced. So now all of that is being brought up again, and it's unfortunate, but I think that's kind of, I don't want to say a good thing that's come out of this war, but it's one of the things where it's like, it's finally being put to the forefront, the importance of having these conversations, even if you guys are not ready to see therapists, having this kind of dialogue with other Tagarus that understand your pain, that are culturally competent, that can say, hey, I know how you're feeling. I understand. There are days when it's just like, people ask you, hey, how are you? You as a Tagaru, like, you don't even have to explain. It's like, sis, I already know how you're feeling. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even have to express to me. And sometimes as individuals, we need that, like, I just need somebody to cry with. I just need somebody to vent to. So I think, like I said, it's so important to have the dialogue with each other, with your friends, with your kids. Most importantly, we want to know what you experienced. We want to know what's going on in your head. And I think the biggest thing too is having the older community and just people, Tagarus in general, understand that your mental health is just as important as your physical health. They go hand in hand. You cannot have one without the other. We are so keen on exercise and eating right and for our physical. Well, that attributes to your mental as well. So really just making sure that we have the right dialogue and that we're making sure that mental health is put to the forefront.
So true. I mean, everything you've said, being in the protest, I'm noticing even how hard it is, and understandably, for some of our older generation to say certain words like rape. Like right now, we know for sure, and I'm seeing in the comments, and we can't sugarcoat these things because we know our audience, our Tagaru extended family, are all day, all night looking and reading these articles. So it wouldn't make any sense for me to sugarcoat these things, but I also want you, the listener, to know that this may trigger you, and it does trigger you while you're reading it. So having said that, one of our viewers says, talks about the Eritrean military being reported as, and they are committing rape on our people, all the heinous things that are coming about. And to bring it back within the protests, while we're shouting, Eritrea out of Tigray, and then saying stop raping our women, I'm noticing it's so triggering. Again, understandably, how can we speak to these occurrences as we advocate, as we need to say it, as we need to name it? What are some things just right off the bat that you can think of?
I mean, I think it's very important to understand first and foremost that this has happened before. So saying these things, using, like you said, the word rape, using, seeing those videos or the pictures of women with their mouth covered and the demonstrations that people are putting together, it's very triggering for a lot of people. And for those of us that are out at the protest, that are having these conversations, we're not saying it. I know they're not taking it that way, but we're not trying to have it as like a triggering point. We want people to understand that this is real. It's unfortunate that, when it happened in the past, that there weren't conversations like this. There wasn't dialogue like this to allow people to express, their pain and their suffering and share their experiences. But now we want people to share your story, to share it in public. We know that what is happening in Tigray is real. Please have these conversations. If you're ever triggered by anything, I mean, I'm not, I have a background in mental health. I'm not a mental health expert or anything. I'm not a licensed therapist or anything like that, but it's so important to share. I think that's the first step in healing. The most important thing that we want to do is heal those that have been triggered by this, that have suffered, whether it's from rape, sexual abuse, sexual assault, sexual harassment, or anything like that, and build these solid foundations here, so that when Tigray is free, when we are able to go to Tigray, when it opens back up, we are going to have to be there for those women, for those girls that are right now suffering, that have been gang raped, that have, been raped in front of their family members, and those type of sorts. And there's no therapeutic way of having that conversation than from somebody that has actually experienced that. So really just helping our people understand that you are, like many of our sisters have said, you are not your trauma. Use your trauma as a way to strengthen you. There are some people probably look at you after you share your story like, wow, I needed to hear that. Like, now I know that I'm not by myself. I think a lot of women feel that they're by themselves, and they kind of look at that as like, they feel ashamed, and they feel that it was their fault. And I mean, that's a whole nother topic that we can get into in terms of how to, talk to a survivor of trauma, and things like that. But really just kind of changing the narrative and letting them know, like, this is not your fault. It was never your fault. And how do we start the healing process? It's not something that's gonna, oh, I talk about it and I'm better. Like, I forgot, like, it's over. It never happened. No, that's not the case. We have to continue to have this kind of dialogue and know that there's steps there. It's a process in terms of healing.
It's an ongoing process. You're right. I cannot move on without addressing this one comment. It says there's no healing until we get our freedom. In actuality, part of our freedom that we hold within our own hands, part of what some of the only things that we have control over, if we're going to use the word control, brother, is that we must find healing while we are fighting. And that is what we're talking about. I hope you stick around and continue in this conversation. It makes sense when you think about it, to us to think maybe, how could I even think about healing myself or finding healing while my people are struggling, while my people are dying and being raped and being, driven out of their homes. And yet, if we don't deal with the healing right now, then we won't have a voice. We won't have the stamina, the energy to continue to fight for our people. So this may sound like a luxury, but in fact, it's not. It's a must. It's a must. Rahel, thank you so much for joining us. Please continue in this conversation. Rahel Haile, so what I'd love to talk about is, what are some possible weaknesses throughout these conversations and dialogues you've had prior to even this crisis? Some of the weaknesses within our community and just because of our culture that we would want to look out for in terms of healing ourselves. And because one thing is for sure, we are great in community and communion, right? Like between bunna time and between just having this catharsis from having these conversations. But right now, unfortunately, with COVID, a lot of us are isolated by, and not isolated with family, but individually. But to bring it back, what are some things we should look out for as a community?
Like you said, I think we are in a tough time. I think sometimes we are so focused on the war that we tend to forget that we are still in the middle of a pandemic, right? So we do have to social distance. We can't be around our loved ones like we would want to and we would need to in terms of healing, starting that healing process. But going back to, real quick, I just want to touch on this. Sometimes I feel like people in general, but maybe especially Tagaru in terms of the platform we're using, we feel guilty, right? When we take a step back and we start like, oh, okay, today I need to make sure I get some rest. Today I need to make sure that I exercise a little bit. Taking those small seconds to take a step back, or even from social media, right? You're like, hey, it's been a lot. I've been on the screen for 10 hours. I need to take a step back. When we do that, it doesn't mean that we care any less about what's going on back home. That's not the reality of it. We still care just as much as if we were on our screen 24/7. It's just that I know that if I have to be great for Tigray tomorrow, I need to make sure that I take care of myself today. And I think as Tagaru, we forget that. And that's what causes us to get so burnt out. It's like, okay, Tigray's at war, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. There's no time for emotions. We have action items that we need to take care of. Let's talk to our representative. Let's go out and protest. Let's A, B, C, and D. Those action items are great. They are very necessary. We need to make sure our voices are being heard. Yeah. We have to have these protests. We have to have these conversations with people that are in power that can actually make a change and make a difference. But at the same time, we also need to think about the people that are out there that are putting these protests together, that will sometimes that we don't want them to get burnt out. We have to make sure that when they need to take a step back, we're almost in a rotation. okay, Helena, today you need a break. Don't worry about it. I'm going to step in. I got you. That's what it means to be a community. And that's what it means to take care of one another. Not only that, this war is going to end. So once this war has ended, are we going to wait until then to deal with the trauma that people have faced, that people dealt with? No, we don't want to wait until it's too late. We've done that in the past. We need to make sure we have this dialogue now. We have these conversations now, and that people understand how important it is. And when you take a step back and you're like, okay, today I got to make sure I get 8 hours of sleep. It does not mean that you are not still thinking about Tigray while you're sleeping. I know many of us wake up in the middle of the night. You go to sleep, you look at your phone. You wake up in the middle of the night, you're thinking about Tigray, subconsciously. You wake up in the morning, you check your phone. Tigray is constantly on everyone's brain, you know?
That's true.
Yeah, definitely. And so I think
Agreeing. I am so with you there.
so I think like that's yeah, I can hear you. I think you cut out for a second. But I think it's very important, and I think a lot of people tend to feel guilty. And there's this another topic, survivor's guilt. That's a whole nother topic that we can talk about on Mental Health Mondays. But so many different things. But I think one of the biggest things that I've noticed now is in our community, people are present physically, but mentally, people are checked out. People have completely checked out. I have conversations with people and they're just listening to respond rather than listen to understand.
And that is part of the fatigue from, before in our normal lives, we'd call it overwork fatigue, right? Where if you're on a project or what it is. So I just want to welcome viewers that are joining us right now. We're just doing a pulse check, we're calling it. This is Rahel Haile, who's joined me, who's been having these conversations on mental wellness before the crisis began. And we're saying how important it is to check in with yourself, specifically now, while we were working so hard for the plight of our people being heard, understood, everywhere around the world, so that there is action from especially the international community. Make no mistake, we're not saying stop doing what you're doing. If we weren't doing what we were doing, the forces opposing our people would still be spewing the lies. And there was a time, we can all remember at the beginning of this crisis, where we were just begging people to believe us, begging reporters to dig around, begging and screaming that there is a genocide in progress behind closed doors. Thankfully, thank God, now we have articles from foreign press to cite and say, according to BBC, according to NPR, according to the Washington Post. There was a time when that wasn't there. So we're not saying stop what you're doing. And I can see some people in the comments, there is this natural need. Let's not talk about this. We're not free. We can't slow down. What we're saying is there will be a natural dip in advocacy, in our energy, if we don't take the time to check on our mental wellness, to do little things that we need to do. Because, if you have slept 2 hours the night before, then you can tell yourself, all right, I did 2 hours the night before. Let me sleep 4 hours tonight, and then you will wake up more refreshed. We're not asking you to change your whole life. Who are we? What works for you works for you. Last week we talked, the prior weeks within this series, we've talked about, triggers and trauma. We talked about survivor's guilt, right? The inability to the inability to eat, to drink, to take a shower without feeling guilty that, our family doesn't have water at the refugee camps, or they're running and hiding in the bushes. So this is real. And what happens is the pent up pressure, just like anything with pressure, it explodes. And what ends up happening is we're no good to ourselves. We're no good to our greater community. So please take the time to check on your well-being. Last week we talked about looking for certain signs. We talked about, time lapsing without even realizing it. You got on the phone at 12, suddenly it's 5, and you're like, what in the world? Lack of sleep, or even sleeping too much, right? Because these signs show up differently for everyone.
Right.
Um, we talked about loss of appetite or overeating, because there is no wrong or right when it comes to signs of stress or how we manage stressors in our lives. If you already have alcohol in your life, overconsumption. If you already smoke, then smoking too much, or starting smoking, that sort of a thing. Anything that comes to mind right off the bat that you're always hoping people remember to do?
Um, I think in terms of, you know, physical, like you said, like there really is no one thing because everybody's response is different, right? For you, you may not be sleeping enough, and for me, I may be sleeping too much. But I think in terms of like physical, I would say a racing heart is really, you know, a big thing in
That's right.
terms of like a panic attack, if we're talking specifically to that. So a racing heart, if you're constantly find yourself just shaking, like you're not because you're nervous because you're about to give a speech or you're about to meet somebody for the first time, but you're just constantly find yourself shaking and you're like, oh my God, do I need to smoke? Do I need to drink? Do I need something to like chill me out? You know, it's there's that shortness of breath, almost like you feel like you're being smothered, is another thing. And sweating is just profusely like sweating, not because you're outside and it's a nice day, you're going for a walk or you're working out, not that type of sweating. It's like we want to make sure that people know that these what these signs are. And another one, like I said, tightness of your chest. When people experience heart attacks, they more 9 times out of 10 experience it to or say that they feel like they're having a heart attack. And then they start psyching themselves out and think they're having a heart attack. That's what we don't want to do. What we
Right.
don't want to do is think we're having something that we're not. If we're having a panic attack, we want to acknowledge to ourselves,
Right.
hey, I'm having a panic attack. This is going to pass. Just really just tricking your mind into, you know, calming down and saying, hey, I have control over my reactions. I have, you know, it doesn't, I'm not letting it take control over me. Like I can control this. I will calm myself down. Or even if somebody you're with and you're like, oh my God, like, am I having a panic attack? Like, am I having a heart attack? And you're like,
Right.
no, you're having a panic attack.
Because the signs are very similar. Racing heartbeat, you were mentioning, nervously shaking, or for somebody else, it could just be shutting down altogether.
Yeah.
I want to really link this up with comment, a reoccurring comment that I'm
Hmm.
seeing. Um, Never knew the Tigrayans were hated so much. So I really want to speak to that, because that also is so triggering, right?
Yeah.
I really want to say, and I want you to add to it also, of course, um, our mind plays such tricks on us, right? Right now, the conversation is all about uh, ending Tigray, ending those of us who are of Tigray descent,
Mhm.
specifically within Tigray and
Mhm.
within the capital city, with just the entirety of ethnic cleansing, right?
Right.
So it may feel like the world hates us, but the truth is there is one other ethnicity that hates us.
Yeah.
But it feels like the world, because right now, during our advocacy, we're dealing with and speaking to or against the people who hate us
Right.
or who hate our politics, because some of
Mhm.
them don't even know us, right? I mean, most
Right.
of them don't know us. They just hate what they've been being told. They hate the politics that they feel they grew up with. But our mind registers it as, my God, I never knew we were so hated. But we have to be careful of those kinds of thoughts, because I think it takes us down a rabbit hole. It's such
Absolutely.
a dark place that
Mhm.
we start to feel depressed, to feel triggered, to feel anxiety, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's uh it's unfortunate. I don't want to say that this is anything new in terms of the hatred that people have had for Tagaru. I think growing up, as Tagaru, like our parents never put that in our hearts, right? We knew
Right.
we were from Tigray,
Right.
we knew we had that bloodline. But growing up, it was like, we're Ethiopia, we're one, like love your neighbors. That's how Tagarus grew up. That was the how we were raised. That's the
So
rhetoric
many
that
of us say that. So many of us say that. I think it's the consensus. Yeah, myself as well.
yeah,
Ethiopian. Yeah. Please
yeah,
continue.
exactly. Exactly. So now we're just sitting here like,
Wow.
wait, are you guys just now feeling like this, or have you been feeling like this? Like, have you just been smiling in my faces, and now are you taking this opportunity to really like show your true colors? And I hear, especially the younger kids, people on social media are a whole different type of people.
It's a different animal. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So I hear, kids say, I've lost a lot of friends. I have not had my Eritrean friends, my Amhara friends.
Right.
Nobody is speaking up. I have my non-Habesha friends speaking
Right.
up more than my fellow Ethiopians. You know what I mean? Like, for lack of a better word, like, why is that? Why do they hate us so much? Like, what has Tigray done to deserve this? Tagaros are peace-loving people. We welcome. It doesn't matter if you're Christian, if you're Islamic, if you're, we had how many 40,000 Eritrean refugees living in Tigray before this war? Like up until November 4th.
100,000.
There you go. Up until November 4th, Tigray was the safest place, no matter who you were in Ethiopia,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so it really is like you start to question, like, what is it about Tigray? Like, what is it about Tagaru that people hate so much? And I think people are gonna hate you regardless, right?
Right.
You could do everything by the book and people are still gonna dislike you. But one thing I do want to point out in terms of Tagaru
Yeah.
is I've seen, especially the last maybe week, whether it's Amhara people, whether it's Eritrean people look at Tagarus and are like, wow, we may not like you guys, but the way that you guys come together is amazing.
Right.
We wish we had that. We wish we could come together the
Right.
way that Tagarus have come together in this time. Like I said, as soon as that war was raised, all Tagaros across the world were in go mode, and we are still in go mode.
That's
People, we have secret admirers. Let's be honest. Those people that hate us, like verbally say that, like in the back of their minds, they're like, wow, like your community is strong. Our community has always been so strong, right? And I think now it's just gotten stronger. So take that, and then, like I said, this is stuff that I'm seeing on social media. So they admire what we're doing.
You're not alone. It's so much so that the head of the opposing side, I don't say the name because that for me is a trigger, right? Understanding our triggers is so key. So his name is a trigger for me. So I just choose not to say it. I just say the title while I'm advocating. Unfortunately now, even the colors for me are a trigger, I mean, but again, knowledge is power, and to know thyself is key in order to be able to help others, right? So we are so admired in the way we've galvanized so quickly that now there is a new campaign coming out, right, on how to take our lead and put it against us. So that is something that I really want anyone who hears us, anyone who sees us, to really be mindful of. You will start seeing written lies. You will start seeing them trying to discredit the work we've done. That is why it's more important than ever to continue to take care of ourselves while we advocate and push past, because at this point, the lies, the international community has seen through the lies. And so for us to get pooped out and to start to speak to the lies is such a waste of energy that this is what I say to my friends and family that are out there advocating with us is when I see them online speaking to the bullies online is this time, your time is too expensive. Our family back home can't afford it. Like they can't afford you putting your energy into talking to this bully, right? Like what
that doesn't bring, like, it's I get it. Somebody just keeps poking at you and
Right.
poking at you and poking at you, you are going to clap back. That's
Right.
a natural reaction. You know what I mean? But at the same time, if we try our hardest, it's not easy. I know sometimes I find myself getting caught up in the comments and really like, how dare you say the refugees are lying? How
Yeah.
dare you say
Yeah.
aunts and uncles that have made it out of Tigray, eyewitness accounts? How dare you say that those people are lying? How dare you say
It hurts.
young girls who have been raped, gang raped, are lying? Like, who are you to say that? You know, so it's like, you know, you want to check these people and you want to meet them at their level. But I think slowly, one at a time, it's not going to happen overnight. If we
Mhm.
start to shift our energy and have conversations as Tagaru, right? If anybody, 90% of the people in the Horn of Africa know what's going on in Tigray, right? They understand that there's a telecommunications blackout, there's no humanitarian access, all that stuff. Shift those conversations, have these conversations with non-Habeshas, people
Right.
that will tell somebody, that will tell somebody, that will tell somebody. We're trying to bring awareness. We know what's going on in Tigray. Me constantly having a conversation about the lack of aid or the lack of this, or trying to prove to you like we're human, we're human. We know we're human. God knows we're human. We
That's right.
need to have these conversations with people that can actually make a change and make a difference. And when I tell you mentally how much that will help you, because not only are you having grown up dialogue, right? You're having a conversation with an adult as an adult. You
Yeah.
also feel like you're helping Tigray because, okay, wow, I spoke to
You
somebody
are.
today and they said they could help. So
Yeah.
you're really killing two birds with one stone by just shifting that energy to somewhere else.
It's so true, which segues us right to the place we want to be. A lot of us are finding that even though we live in the sphere, the Twitter sphere, we talked briefly last week about also part of maintaining our sanity while pushing and doing this work is seeing which platform is for you. We know now that Twitter is so it makes everyone so accessible, right? It's
Yeah.
almost like nudging at these elected officials. It could be overseas, it could
Mhm.
be uh, UN Security Council,
Mhm.
Parliament, our senators who have the power to push for this to be spoken about within the White House, who has the
Mhm.
power to really impose sanctions, all these trickle down effects.
Yeah.
So being mindful, if you have to choose one, I say choose Twitter, right?
Yeah,
uh,
for sure.
if you are a lover of Instagram, maybe it could be your catharsis, where really I feel we're all using Instagram to communicate with one another, especially
Mhm.
on events that are coming up, such as protests, fundraisers,
Right.
people who, and I'm also super proud of us for continuing to make sure fundraisers are legitimate. They're not
Mhm.
legitimate. I'm praying we're doing this while being kind, right?
Mhm.
Also, we have our speakers that are at the forefront dealing with media, who are having panels that really speak to the world. Also, it's a
Mhm.
great opportunity for us to catch up
Right.
on how to speak to other people about what's
Mhm.
going on. How, what does a well-rounded summary on what we're going through sound like, right?
Yeah.
So I really want you guys to stay tuned, because this is really catering to, we're thinking about our and your well-being and what it takes to continue to have that energy
Mhm.
to fight the good fight, to get in the good trouble, right?
Mhm.
So at the end of our program today, we will be talking about upcoming protests, also about upcoming fundraisers from known um, organizations that are
Mhm.
geared solely towards Tigray and this crisis, also geared towards what will be the good we'll be doing once our country, Tigray. When I speak to my allies, ally friends, are not
Mhm.
my non-Tagaro, sometimes it's a whole conversation on how are you guys not a country, but there's different ethnicities have their own flag. So
Right.
which is a whole other conversation. But at the end of near our end of our program, we'll be going through all of those, and this is a very
Mhm.
big week as well as a weekend for a lot of our organizations.
Mhm.
What is one thing uh, you wish our advocates, our Tagaro advocates were doing or doing more of? It doesn't have to be something new. It could be something maybe some of us are doing that others aren't doing.
I think, like you said, the biggest thing is social media. Like, we really got to just tackle social media. And I think everybody has been doing such an amazing job, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, using those hashtags. Because even if you're on Instagram, if you have like a post and you use that hashtag, people can click on that hashtag and it will bring up everything Tigray genocide that anybody has posted, even our non-Tagaru allies.
Right.
So definitely taking that. Getting a Twitter account. You don't have to have 500 followers to make a change. You
Right.
just need to make sure that those tweets, when you are sending them, that they are going to the people. Shout out to I Stand with Tigray. Shout out to Omna Tigray. These people, these Tagarus have made life so much easier. They have created templates. I think it's literally 2 clicks. Boom, boom. You can pick any day of the week. If you have a lunch break, if you have a Sunday with your kids, you guys all get the kids together and we're going to tweet. You know what I mean? They want to see their parents active on social media. They want to see their parents tweeting. So it doesn't matter how many followers you have. Make sure you're going out there and you are, doing what you can with the resources that you have. Tagaru, we're trying to make it as easy as possible for anybody to create these accounts, to tweet to the representatives. Everything is laid out. Email campaigns. Join these group text messages because we send stuff on there on a daily basis. Another thing that I think I've seen a lot of people kind of struggle is kind of feeling helpless. Like, well, I'm not really the activist type, or I'm not going to go out there and speak. That's not my thing. That's totally fine. We need all Tagarus, all hands on deck. It doesn't matter what you do. If you are into designing clothes, get together with the people that do the protest and make shirts for the protest. If you are in the healthcare field, get together with HPN for Tigray, get together with TPN. As Tagaru, and I cannot emphasize this enough, find your lane, whatever it may be, and you go full speed. For me, I'm not the type of person that's gonna go and have conversations with representatives. My emotions might get the best of me, and I might just end up saying, please, please help us, help us, help us. They're gonna be like, ma'am, like, we need more information, like, yes, we're gonna help you, but can you back it up? So what I've done is I've taken my background, my education, my knowledge, and my passion for mental health. How can I apply that to the Tigray community? How can I be there for my people in a different way? And like I said, a lot of us are feeling like, what can I do? I don't know if this is really like, do I just tweet here and there? Whatever your passion is, whatever it may be, please, we need all Tagarus. If you're in engineering, if you're a pharmacist, if you're in construction, we're going to have to go back and build Tigray. If you're a teacher, we're going to have to go back and we're going to have to build. We're going to have to give resources for the kids who have not been in school. You know what I mean?
That's
There's
right.
so many different ways. So just anything, connect with people. Reach out to Hilena, reach out to myself. We will get you to the people that you need to get to. Most importantly, we need all hands on deck. Find your lane and you go full speed down it.
I love that. I love that energy, and it's exactly what I was hoping you'd say. If you've been you would have to be under a rock to not know of these entities. As I mentioned, Stand with Tigray. A lot of us accidentally say, I stand with Tigray, and we do, but that's really because that's how we feel. And also, once you get on the website, it says, I stand with Tigray, but the actual website is www.standwithtigray. It's actually asking you or telling you to stand with Tigray.com, and also omnatigray.org. These, again, are 2 of our leading organizations that have a very live website. Again, you can find everything that you need to know: protest schedules, tweet campaigns, things of that nature. We have a very important weekend coming up. Let's pass this around within our community. I have to tell you, a couple of weeks ago, I was at my, I'll say, local Tagaru business. I'll just say it like that. And the gentleman, just seemed really down. And I said, are you all right? Because like Rahel said, we're all cousins all of a sudden, right?
Right.
We grew up being told we were cousins, but no, we for real. I mean, in a big way.
Yeah.
He just was feeling so helpless. And after this conversation, I realized he doesn't know about any of this. He's just sitting there wishing there was something he could do while he was serving our community, while he was selling. And when I mentioned these websites, he was so angry, like really angry. Why wouldn't anyone tell me about this sort of thing? So we were talking earlier, if you're saying to yourself, you know what, I have to make myself sleep. Maybe a pact you can make with yourself is, today I get 8 hours of sleep. Tomorrow I tell 3 Tagaros and 1 ally about these websites.
Yeah.
What helps me now, because I was completely burnt out within the first 2 months, and it was just with this beautiful new life, a baby in our home, like a lot of us. I don't consider myself special. There's people with multiple kids and in-laws in the home, and I'm just so in awe of all of us. For me, this is my first time being a mom, and so I was already trying to figure it out. And thankfully, he gives me a lot of grace. Thank God. But the inability to sleep at night, and then you're just watching the sunrise, and then he's about to rise. And there's this panic that comes because your eyes are droopy and dreary. So I started to make a pact with myself. I will put the phone aside and sleep for 5 hours, but tomorrow I go to my local mart and I show them the Tigrinya, because we have it in Tigrinya, how to's, right? And also show the website. So if you give yourself 4 more hours of sleep, you've brought a fellow Tagaro or a fellow ally to the fight, so that you can hand off the sword, so to speak, to one another, right? Now more than ever, we know, since there's been a call to action from the other side, this is something we need to get rest when we can, so that we are able to push, so that there's actual actions happening, as opposed to all these entities saying that they are gravely concerned. I think we're all, tired of the gravely concerned. If today's episode sounds a little bit more, I wouldn't say political, but if today's episode sounds a little bit more on the groundworks, a little bit more detailed on how to do what we're doing, it's because Rahel and I discussing this, we realize part of the panic, part of the anxiety that comes is from people not knowing what to do, right?
Exactly.
So each one, teach one, and all the other sayings that come with this. Rahel, what shall we start talking about some of the things happening in the coming days, this weekend, as well as give our viewers dates on some of these protests and marches. Before we go there, we're hoping once we tell you what's going on, you do the legwork within your city, state, to make sure that the organizers have done the legwork. There's right now talk of a national protest, if you've heard about it, in New York. We want to make sure the people putting on that protest have spoken to their local officials. We don't want anybody making the trip there and getting stranded. There's snow right now. There have been COVID restrictions. So please do your due diligence to make sure that these are legitimate. And when I say legitimate, I just mean people have done the legwork.
Right.
In regards to the city protests, the local protests, they've always been legitimate. So we can talk about that. For HPN, Healthcare Professionals Network for Tigray, HPN for Tigray, take it away.
We have MSF, and if I'm not mistaken, I think we have spoken with MSF Spain and MSF Holland.
Yeah, for people who may not know the acronyms, MSF is basically Doctors Without Borders, which is the only entity right now able to reach some parts of Tigray, some parts within Tigray. So they are helping to treat people. So yes, you're right. Rahel, HPN for Tigray has partnered up with Doctors Without Borders, and I believe it's on the 7th. We have, what do we got going on?
We have a virtual protest, and we keep saying we because Hilena and I are both part of TPN, and we are both part of HPN for Tigray. But
Yeah,
yes,
you mean pledge though, right?
pledge,
Yeah.
yes, not a protest. Pledge. We have a virtual.
Yeah, you're thinking about the next.
So definitely, it's 12 Eastern. For those of us, which is 10 Mountain, 9 Pacific, all those times. So 12 Eastern, virtual pledge. Please check out HPN for Tigray. That is the name on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And yeah, please check in. HPN is working. HPN for Tigray is working day and night, working overtime to get to our people, not only in Sudan, but also to our people in Tigray. So we have some people already on the ground in Tigray working with MSF, which we're super grateful for. But let's continue the fight.
Yes. So again, that's HPN on all social media platforms. Please follow and support. Obviously, not obviously, I am a community liaison. We've got surgeons, nutritionists, we've got therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, we have pharmacists. I mean, all healthcare professionals that you can think of. And a lot of people in our comments are saying, what about when Tigray opens? Yes, everything, all the effort is right now. We are all doing what we can for our people who are fleeing, who are still in Tigray. We are concerned. I hate that word now. I'm sorry. Because all the, we're screaming for all of our people also that are within Addis that are being targeted. So if you are in Addis Ababa and you're hearing this, we want you to know we love you. It's all still about you. It's all still not just prayers, although those are happening every day, every moment of the day. But we just want you to do whatever you need to do to be healthy within your mind. That comes first, because that mind-body connection, when your mind shuts down, then your body shuts down. And we want you to just be at your peak. We love you so much. I can't, and if love could just fly in and scoop you up, I know that's how we all feel. I'm just silly enough to say it out loud and not care if you think I'm some hippie woman in America. That having been said, HPN, if you are a Tagaru healthcare professional, please reach out. Please reach out. We are, it's us for us. Next, so again, we said 12 p.m. Eastern, we have a pledge drive happening. And for more information on this, you can reach HPN for Tigray on, you said Facebook, also Instagram, also on Twitter. And please share. This is this entity is not affiliated with any kind of politics, with any kind of anything. So it's really great to be able to share it with allies who may not want to get within the politics,
Right.
It's daunting, right? The history of this war in the making is daunting for non-Habeshoch to kind of even grasp. So this is somebody that they can get behind, and who doesn't know about Doctors Without Borders. So,
right.
And I think, please.
And I think all platforms, I think especially Tagaru, we've taken that political part out of it from the beginning. There might be opposing sides that keep trying to push that political part on us.
Yeah.
It was never political. It has not been political. They use that as an excuse to justify what they're doing and how they're attacking us. But the international community and the world is starting to realize, hey, women are being raped. This is a humanitarian problem. We need unhindered humanitarian access into Tigray. And as Hilena was saying, at the end of the day, ultimately, our ultimate goal is Tigray. Once Tigray opens up, once Tigray becomes free, that's why it's so important that we build these solid organizations, these solid foundations here. Because once Tigray is free, once Tigray opens up, we have to be ready to go.
That's
once again, and you know, like we have to make sure that we do what we can here,
right.
and we have these plans, we have these blueprints of like, okay, Tigray's open, you take this, you go here, you do that, because you know, Tigray is not, yes, it's small in comparison to the rest of Ethiopia, but we still don't know the reality of what's going on in the ground. So we have to think worst case scenario if we're being realistic.
That's right.
And we have to be ready to go. And that's why everybody's working so hard here. And we have not, if we could get, you know, unhindered access into Tigray, we would, trust us, everybody would be going. We know that everybody would be going there. But we have to do what we can with what we have, and the resources that we have and the access that we have, most importantly.
Very true. Well said. I want to quickly touch on some of the protests coming up. Do you still have that list up, Rahela?
I don't have that list up, but I do know you already mentioned the big protest in New York on February 11th.
That's right. I'm sorry. New York protest. That's right. No, February 11th. Although we're saying, I still have not been able to suss out who is in charge of that protest, although I'm putting a lot of feelers out. If somebody watching right now has information about that, please reach out. You can actually reach me at, this show will have its own Instagram, but till then, feel free to reach me at helenanow@gmail.com, helenanow@gmail.com, or on any social media platform. Again, we use Instagram for communication, so Hilena Now on Instagram. Next Gen will be having an online raffle, as well as a candlelight vigil, which sounds really beautiful. And that will be on the 11th. Is that right? That's right.
Check. Yep, that's on the 11th as well. Yep.
That's right. So I want to make sure that, and I'll let you keep scrolling for some of those protests, but just so you know, Next Gen, who are located in the DMV area and have been doing an amazing job. Next Generation Tagaro, basically, their Instagram page is active all the time, and they actually helped in a couple of initiatives that helped our Tagaro family abroad. So I really want to say thank you to them. It is this way that we make sure all of these organizations that are popping up and saying they're for us, we make sure that what happened in 80 during the Derg regime, where so much money was stolen, doesn't happen now, because we have technology. We're able to really communicate very fast. You know, the Tagaro within extended Europe, you know, just texting you real time, you know, you're able to find out so much. So if there's anything that you can't find out, reach out to us as well. I want to make sure I don't forget any to touch upon any comments before we leave for the day. Yes, yes, yes. We love all of our people. Yes, we do. All Tagaro are lovely people. You might be a little biased, but we agree with you. So let us see. Yeah, I feel like we've covered all of these. Any luck on some of the?
We do have, I mean, this is not a protest, but this is definitely something that people should tune into. Okay. It's happening this Sunday, State of the Horn, the humanitarian crisis in Ethiopia's Tigray region. We're going to have Samuel Gebru, Mazagide, and Getachew on there, as well as 2 previous U.S. ambassadors to Ethiopia. So tune in Sunday, February 7th, 9 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Pacific Standard. No, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, 10 Pacific. So that should be a really, really good conversation. Like I said, 2 previous U.S. ambassadors to Ethiopia will be the guest speakers, along with Samuel Gebru, Maazagide, and Getachew Tamare. So definitely tune into that.
all of those people always have something very important to say, things important to
Mhm.
say. And as we mentioned earlier, uh, it's good to get speaking points so that when we have the opportunity to speak, whether it's media or uh, for allies or even during advocacy, sometimes we get stuck saying the same thing over and over again. And this is a good way to, it's almost like having class. In
Yeah.
a way, and some things you already knew, some things you're getting a refresher of, for, and some things maybe you didn't even know. So if you go to that Instagram page, it's State of the Horn, and they're holding this conversation coming up.
Mhm.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much, Rahelawa. I mean,
Thank you.
I promise you will come back.
Of course, anytime you need me, just call me.
You know I will, because I always talk to you throughout the week. So
We do. We are always, talking to each other, whether it's on Saturday, Sunday, whatever day. We are always
whatever
connected.
meeting
So
day.
thank you so much, Helena Hafte. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for honoring us with your time, which is the biggest commodity we all have. And we're seeing that to be true, because we are spending so much of it being, as we say, the voice of the voiceless, or in many cases, the voice. Now, we continue to push for our people's everything, for their freedom, for the cessation of all harm, and for the humanitarian corridors that need to be flung wide open. The
Hmm.
fighting battlefield, if you will, right now is happening live on Twitter 24 hours a day. And the most loving place for our community is always there, because people are there just to, to help you do what it is that you're there to do. Please remember, if you have a Twitter profile that is just sort of a generic without the real you on it, it's very important that you don't continue to just press retweet. They think that it's a robot and they will erase your account, but please
Hmm.
do keep getting up. A good way to not get shut down is to retweet with a quote. And don't forget, our main hashtags are hashtag Tigray genocide. Be careful of
Hmm.
that genocide word. The other side is misspelling it, so that we accidentally press the misspelled one. There is a campaign coming up. You will see being amplified on Stand with Tigray, as well as omnatigray.org. And it is, help me get this right, all access.
Are you talking about the Twitter campaign?
That's right, the Twitter campaign. And we don't want to get this wrong, because that's what it is. While Rahelawa is looking it up, it's very important that we don't misspell these words, because when somebody goes to search it, it can have misinformation. So
Mhm.
please, let's get that right. Go ahead, Rahel. I think you found it.
The one that I see for on Omna Tigray is the, like you said, the hashtag Tigray genocide, and then the hashtag UNSC Act Now.
That is the one we've been using, but there is one that is coming up, and both Omna as well as Stand With will be pushing it through. So this is a you heard it here first. No, I'm just kidding. I wish you just heard it like it just rolled off, because now I'm making you wait. But either way, I don't want to get it wrong. But it's basically pushing that all access be available to the entirety of Tigray. Please look out for that, and please amplify that as soon as possible. Here it is. Hashtag allow access to Tigray. Hashtag allow hashtag allow access to Tigray. Allow access to Tigray. So you'll be seeing that coming up. This is a very big campaign, and we're just hoping everybody gets on board. If you've taken a break from Twitter, please come back. It's important. Please tell at least 4. I'm challenging you. We're challenging you. What do you want? How many do you want them to do?
I mean, if you can tell 10, I mean, just making sure. I think
Oh,
one
right.
thing that we've done, like that I've noticed too, is just having these conversations. Like, I will be at work. Like, one thing I did, and I will very briefly, I was very hesitant about sending my entire team at work an email about what's going on in Tigray, but I just kind of felt like they needed to. I just know I'm not performing as well as I used to because mentally, my brain is somewhere else. My brain is in Tigray. My brain is with the people of Tigray. So I sent them an email briefly letting them know. I sent them the links for Omna Tigray, I Stand with Tigray, articles from the Washington Post, the New York Times. And one of my coworkers was like, hey, my uncle is the U.S. ambassador to Gambia. So I know that he knows people and I will get you connected. So just having these conversations, so many people are like, wait, what? What's happening in Tigray? I didn't even know that. Mainstream media is not saying anything. So share, talk to anybody. If you're at the store, the first thing I say, people will say, hey, did you know there's a genocide going on in Tigray? Like,
Wow.
Go to this website. Yeah, go to this website and you'll see it. Like, we've gone around and we've put little like notes, you know, when you go and you like flyers, people will put it on the windshield of their car.
Oh,
just a brief summary, hashtags, the website, so important. Just tell. It's better to talk too much than to not say anything at all. So just talk, ask for forgiveness, not permission. So just keep talking, just keep spreading. And you are not alone. When I hear the word ajohum, like that just really is, there's so much power behind that. I mean, I cannot even tell you, like ajohum, ajona, bertu, like all of that stuff is just so empowering for me.
Me too. I have to say, maybe it's because we've grown up hearing that, you know, you fall, you skin your knee, whatever it is, it was always at the right time from whomever it was. And I said I wasn't going to cry on this episode. Don't get me to cry. Okay, so I'm just going to go straight to the announcement. Allow access to Tigray. And no matter what Twitter campaign we're on, we never not do the Tigray genocide, because that's our staple. That's our constant. And again, please, I keep repeating it because it's important. Don't accidentally misspell it with the OI, because again, that's not, you know, but it will come up because they're getting it to trend almost. So February 4th, this is a really important campaign. Tell people, tell everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on this hour and 7 minutes of wellness in time of crisis. Thank you again to Cyber Power of Tigray and anyone and everyone else who will be airing this. Do take care of yourself, because it's not a luxury, it's a necessity. And until we see you again. Thank you. Thank you, Rahel.
Thank you.